You are watching the broadcast of the El Paso County Commissioners Court meetings. Commissioners Court meetings are held every Monday at 9:30 a.m. on the third floor of the El Paso County Courthouse, located at 500 East San Antonio in downtown El Paso. These meetings are open to the public. The meeting will start momentarily.
All county offices will be closed on Monday, February 17th in observance of the President's Day holiday. All county offices will reopen on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020.
The County of El Paso Public Works Department is offering sandbags at no cost or requirements to the public. The sandbags are outside of the facilities and are available 24 hours a day. The location of the county facilities are the following: the Road and Bridge Fabens Warehouse, located at 1331 North Fabens Street in Fabens, Texas, 79838. The Road and Bridge Canutillo Warehouse, located at 191 Canutillo Avenue in Canutillo, Texas, 79835. And the Road and Bridge Montana Warehouse, located at 14698 Van Lane, El Paso, Texas, 79938.
Don't wait in line, pay online. Visit the Financial Recovery Division website at http://www.epcounty.com/budget/financialrecovery.htm to make your payments online or find out more about our kiosk locations. We now accept payments on misdemeanor, felony, and justice of the peace cases.
Will invite households across the country to participate in the 2020 census. But what is the census? Simply put, the census is a head count of every person living in the United States. To be sure the government represents the people, the U.S. Constitution requires a population count every 10 years. Ever since 1790, the census has determined the number of seats each state receives in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is, and always has been, a cornerstone of our democracy. We still use it to determine representation, but leaders also use the data to make decisions. Your response helps guide planning for the future of our communities. The 2020 census will help inform decisions on how billions of dollars are allocated annually for critical public services like roads, schools, hospitals and healthcare clinics, fire and emergency response services, and hundreds of other programs. In 2020, for the first time, you'll be able to complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. It asks a few simple questions, like how many people live in your home on April 1st, including their age and sex, and if there are any children living there. You should know that by law, all census responses are completely confidential, and your personal information cannot be shared with any law enforcement agencies. Every person counts, no matter who you are or where you live. So whether your family has participated for decades or the 2020 census will be your first, we all have a role in shaping the future of our country.
El Paso goes by many names. Sun City, 915. We are known for history, culture, food, and art. In the early 1900s, development and commerce in El Paso revolved around mining and trade. The nationally recognized mission trails are just one example of the many historic sites that portray our region's rich indigenous and colonial history. Since then, El Paso has evolved, and so has its people. We take great pride in nourishing a skilled and capable workforce, with 72% of our population being bilingual. We stay competitive among other large U.S. cities. The region's border location boasts a major trade port. It allows competitive local manufacturers to produce at maximum capacity. Fleet systems are capable of worldwide distribution of parts and products.
Our state-of-the-art higher education systems are nationally recognized. The Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center El Paso, the nation's first comprehensive health sciences institution on the U.S.-Mexico border, provides students the opportunities to become doctors, nurses, and researchers. The University of Texas at El Paso offers 74 bachelor's, 74 master's, and 22 doctoral programs.
Local government agencies and other economic development organizations help industries become established and expand in our community. The County of El Paso is great for business, but we also keep true to our southern hospitality with plenty of outdoor recreation options. It's easy to keep active in El Paso. We are constantly looking for new industries interested in expansion. We want to offer our help and support in the process. No matter the name, El Paso is proud, strong, progressive. We are El Paso. Come see what we can do together.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, February 3rd, 2020. Commissioners' Court is meeting in regular open session. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
We have an invocation from Mr. Eric Chavez.
O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hand has made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. This morning, Lord, we come before you seeking your wisdom. We pray for all commissioners here this morning. We pray for all people here this morning, Lord. We pray that you will give us peace, love, and joy in our hearts, and the serenity to accept the things that we can change, courage to change the things that we cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Mr. Chavez, thank you. Great way to start the week. And thank all of you for being here. We welcome you on behalf of our commissioners and myself. It's always great to have you here. You're always welcome. I think you'll learn a lot and get to see some incredible resolutions, so thank you. I know people think that today is a national holiday. I think like 40% think it's a holiday on Monday after Super Bowl, so I'm glad I'm glad a lot of you are back here. So thank you very much and welcome. Caesar?
Item number 4 is the consent agenda composed of items 4A through 4T. Are there any items that members of the court or the public would like to pull for individual discussion?
Commissioners?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Perez is absent. Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5A from resolutions. Approve and adopt a resolution recognizing the month of February 2020 as Black History Month in El Paso County, Texas.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners, and our audience there. I am honored to be able to read this into the record. I know we have some folks from the community college, and if you don't mind stepping to the podium, and I'll read the resolution, and we'd love to hear from you. Whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1926 of Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas the county of El Paso is home to over 22,000 African Americans currently and throughout history, many have played significant roles in the county's economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development while working tirelessly to maintain and promote their culture and history. And whereas Black History Month was established to celebrate and recognize the achievements of African Americans throughout U.S. history, and whereas we mark the 44th year of Black History Month, let us reflect on the sacrifices and contributions made by generations of African Americans. Whereas during Black History Month, we recognize the champions of justice and the sacrifices they made to bring us to this point, and we honor the contributions of African Americans since our country's beginning, and we recommit to reaching a day when no person is judged by anything but the content of their character. And whereas in honor of Black History Month, El Paso Community College Diversity and Inclusion Programs is presenting 2 events in February. On February 21st, Black History Month Legacy Awards Dinner, and on February 26th, Black History Month panel discussion. Other events going on in the city are the annual Black History Month Parade and Miss Black El Paso pageant, both going on the last Saturday of February. And whereas the Legacy Awards will go to 2 African-American community members, an EPCC cross-country half-marathon team who have made their major contributions to El Paso community. And whereas the recipients of the awards are Judge John Chapman, Miss Baby Ruth Boswell, and EPCC cross-country half-marathon team members. And whereas the Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Wisa Davis, will present on and examine this year's theme, African Americans and the Vote, Overcoming Obstacles to Success. As a response to Jim Crow oppression in the Deep South and African Americans' individual and organized resistance to entrenched systems of segregation, violence, and social-political repression in America. And whereas it remains to be our responsibility as citizens to address the inequalities and injustices that are still lingering, and we must secure our birthright freedoms for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the El Paso County Judge and Commissioners Court that the month of February be recognized and celebrated as Black History Month. Signed this 3rd day of February 2020 by the honorable members of Commissioners Court.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Aye. We're just gonna
sorry.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Oh, sorry, aye. Reading a note from my staff.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Apologize. Got ahead of myself. But Judge Samaniego and Commissioners, thank you very much for having us here today. I'd like to introduce the individuals that are behind me that have supported this event, as well as individuals who are not here today from the Community College and the Black History Month. Lee Vasquez, Tony Rodarte, Chloe King, Lily Johnson, Monica Tucker, Ismael de la Rosa. Wisa Davis may join us in a bit, but overall, I want to thank you very much. It gives us great honor to come before you in different activities that we have, and you support us by giving us the resolution that we hang proudly at our offices at the administrative building. We are very excited this year, as already no need to reiterate what has already been said in the resolution, of all the wonderful people that are going to be involved this time, as well as we have the keynote speaker, Gary Bledsoe, who Judge Bledsoe is a Texas NAACP president. So he is going to be our keynote speaker for the 21st. We always like to make sure that we honor those who have done wonderful things for our community and for our community college. So we have the honor of being able to address these through our functions that we have at the Diversity and Inclusion Program. One area that may have not been addressed so readily, we have, although this dinner we charge for the dinner, we also have an opportunity for our students to meet the keynote speaker at our Valle Verde campus, what we call a student assembly. And so they are able to come and meet him and hear his words as well. Since we are looking at voting, how important voting is this coming year. And at our Trans Mountain campus, we have a panel of Mr. Anthony Robinson, Ms. Crystal S. Roman, Ms. Abney Merriweather, and Mr. Curtis Smith. They will be giving a panel discussion on Black history and our student success. That'll be at the Trans Mountain campus on the 26th. all in all, we have wonderful sponsors, and we appreciate all they do for us as well. So as we leave and accept our resolution, we'd like to drop off an invitation to each of you, a poster and a flyer that you can read when these events are. I know your calendars are so booked with all kinds of events, but we hope that you can stop by at least a while in any one of the events that we're having. Thank you very much for this. And for beautiful, I don't know who gave the, Mr. Chavez. It must be because we're related in some way with the Chavezes, but we also got a beautiful flower. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Thank you very much for being here. Every time I look up and the community college is involved, it seems like they pick the best people to represent them in so many facets of their business. So thank you for being such a tremendous asset to not only the college, but to El Paso. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? Because I'll ask Commissioner Robinson.
Well, thank you, Judge. I just want to thank you guys for what you do at the community college. I know you've been this endeavor for many, many years. And you always do an outstanding job. But I just want to add to what you are doing. You know, there's a multitude of other activities going on during the month of February in our community of El Paso. The Black History Month usually is culminated at the end of the month with the Black History Parade, which will be on the last Saturday in February, which is open to the public to participate in. In addition to that, UTEP, see someone from UTEP is here, but UTEP, the African American Studies, they have some programs going on at the university as well. And also, I don't have the exact time, but the annual Miss Black El Paso pageant is an annual event that also occurs. So I'll just say for the public, just stay tuned, tune into the community college or UTEP or your local media, that there are multiple activities going on in the community throughout the month. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Anybody else would like to say a few words?
Not talking.
No? Okay, well, I'd like to thank you, and I know I was going to... I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Judge.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We are starting a Black community newspaper just to highlight events for the Black community in El Paso, and on the 14th will be the first one, and we'll be featuring 100 years of the FBI, of African Americans in the FBI, and our local FBI agents are participating in that also.
Thank you. And of course, in our audience, we have one of the trustees, Christina Sanchez, out there. She's extremely proud of her position, and we're very proud to have her as our county attorneys. But just want to thank you and Community College, and what an amazing event, and so proud of this Black history. It's sort of, you know, our community really comes together, and we're one community, you know, and so just thank you for that, and thank you for all the activities, and we'll try our best to participate in as many as possible to support your initiatives. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course. You gotta do it. there.
Football, bro. Oh, that's good. When does early voting start? Next week? The following. 2 weeks. 2 weeks tomorrow.
Item number 5B, approve and adopt a resolution designating February as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month in El Paso County, Texas.
Morning, Judge and Commissioners. I have the honor of reading this resolution. We have some folks from the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence, my friend Cesar Campa, right there. We also have a special guest, Dr. Elizabeth Richardson, who is here representing Jennifer Ann's group, and so we'll hear from her as well. Giselle Ramirez, Vivienne Valles, and Iman Attar are also joining us from the CISFB. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution, and then we'll hear from you all, okay? Whereas dating violence is a crime that violates an individual's privacy and dignity, security and humanity due to the systematic abuse to gain control over a dating partner, regardless of gender identity, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, or socioeconomic standing, and whereas 1 in 3 young people will experience dating violence and have been exposed to either physical, emotional, sexual, digital, and/or economic abuse, while in 1 in 10 high school students has been purposely hit, slapped, or physically hurt by a boyfriend or girlfriend. And whereas 43% of college women and 28% of college men report experiencing either abuse or controlling behaviors in a dating relationship, and whereas 57% of teens and young people waited over 6 months before getting help regarding their abusive relationship, and whereas over half of adult women and men who have been physically or sexually abused or stalked by a dating partner first experienced the abuse between the ages of 11 through 24, and whereas the impact of dating violence is wide-ranging, young people victimized by a dating partner are more likely to use drugs and alcohol, are at greater risk of suicide, and are much more likely to carry patterns of abuse into future relationships, and the experience may disrupt normal development of self-esteem. And whereas by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented. And whereas the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence, in partnership with area school districts, raises community awareness and provides training for teachers, counselors, and school staff so that they may recognize when youth are exhibiting signs of dating violence. And whereas the establishment of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month will benefit young people, their families, schools, and the El Paso community because everyone has the right to a safe and healthy relationship and to be free from abuse. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the El Paso County Judge and Commissioners Court, recognize February 2020 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and urge all residents to work toward ending teen dating violence by empowering young people to develop healthier relationships, assisting victims in accessing the information and supportive services they need, creating better and more resources for young people in need, instituting effective intervention and prevention policies in schools, and engaging in discussions with family members and peers to promote awareness and prevention of the quiet epidemic of teen dating violence. Signed this 3rd day of February 2020, the Honorable County Commissioners Court.
Second.
Commissioner Perez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye. Commissioner
Robinson?
Aye.
Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Well, good morning, County Judge Samaniego and County Commissioners. Thank you all for having us this morning and recognizing February as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And it's really important, as it says there, that there is this quiet epidemic. While we do, as an agency, focus on domestic violence and sexual assault, it's really important for us to be able to highlight the issues that our youth are facing. Oftentimes, as adults, when we look at youth in our lives, teens that we know, and they're in relationships, we often, as adults, look back at our own relationships and think about how juvenile and minimize those things were, right? We think about, we had this bad relationship, it didn't work out, and you move on, you grow up, you become an adult. We tend to minimize their experience, right? When we mentioned there that dating violence starts as early as 11 years old, and we think about 11-year-olds today, and we think about how could this be happening? How could they be experiencing such tragic and traumatic events? But they are. And so when we think about the young people in our lives, the young people that we know who start displaying side effects of the trauma that we can recognize, right? It is important for us to be able to acknowledge that and recognize that it is such a real fear for them. And so I think as adults, as policymakers, as individuals, I challenge us to really evaluate how we're engaging these individuals, how we are engaging our community to have conversations, how are we challenging individuals in our lives to validate and recognize that the things that they are experiencing are very real, that because they're 11, because they're 13, because they're 17, doesn't make it any less traumatic, in thinking that, oh, they're gonna have so many more years to be able to recover from that trauma. And so we as a center are here to be able to advocate for them, often in many instances when they cannot. And so we have very highly trained staff that are able to provide intervention services, to be able to provide advocacy. You'll hear from Iman Attar, who does that in the schools. You'll hear from Giselle Ramirez, who is specifically working in schools about educating students on healthy relationships and engaging how do we have that conversation. And then Vivian will talk a little bit about our intervention programs in terms of those youth who are displaying risk factors, who are being recognized as potential offenders, what we can do. All of this is preventable. All of this we can turn the tide. And so with that, I would like to hand it over to Ms. Iman Attar just to briefly share what she does.
Hello, good morning. My name is Iman Attar. I'm the youth advocate at the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence. We are currently in about 10 schools within the El Paso district right now. Within the El Paso community. Servicing about 10 schools, going out to the schools, providing students with advocacy services for dating violence, family violence, and sexual assault survivors as well. So I thank you guys for being here and making awareness to this month.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Giselle Ramirez. I'm the primary prevention facilitator at the center. I'm actually out at the high schools right now, Canutio and Andres, and soon going to expand more. I educate students on healthy relationships and how we can push back against domestic violence and sexual assault. But we also empower our youth to have their voice being heard not only in their campus, but as well in the community.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vivian, and I work with the Teen Intervention Prevention Program. What we do is facilitate a 12-week session program for the youth to prevent domestic violence.
Thank you.
Thank you. And a lot of our work obviously would not be able to be functional and be able to succeed without community partners. And I would also be remiss not to acknowledge our board member, County Attorney Joan Bernal, who herself and her office does tremendous work in dealing with the issue of teen dating violence. In addition, I now would thank you all for acknowledging my staff and the staff that we work with, and would like to invite Dr. Elizabeth Richardson from Jennifer Ann's group.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you.
Good morning.
I'm so proud of El Paso, I have to tell you that, because it was 2016 when the last presidential proclamation to acknowledge teen dating violence as a month happened. And since 2016, we haven't had that opportunity as a nation. And so to see this in El Paso County gives me great pride. Besides my private practice, I am the advisory board chair for Jennifer Ann's group and have been so for 13 years since our inception. And in that role, we offer everything free in this community as well as other communities, but our only physical presence is in Atlanta, Georgia, and El Paso, Texas. We are international because we have a website that is profoundly popular with millions of hits all the time. But yet, when this stopped the presidential proclamation, we found that February didn't have the peak that it used to have. And so we do expect that El Paso and perhaps other counties, I know Atlanta has this on their agenda as well, that we have the opportunity to have the ability to be seen better, to be seen more clearly, because that will pique interest. Obviously, everything that we do is preventative, and that's really what we want. And we also know in preventing teen dating violence and abuse, and by the way, that's young adults as well through college age that we focus on, that we hope to have less domestic violence in the future. And I think that that's got to be the ultimate goal. So we have free resources. Jennifer Ann's group, everything we do for free. And we work most collaboratively with EPISD, although we've had a reach out to all the other school districts as well as other organizations of interest. But I will tell you that working with them for the last, I guess it's been about 7 years, has been incredibly rewarding. We do collaborate with groups such as the Center Against Sexual and Dating Abuse. And we also work with different groups. And by the way, we've had a staunch supporter, Joanne Bernal, for the last 10 years. So we're really proud to be a part of this, and thank you, because Jennifer Ann's group is something that is based on what happens to people. It's named after Jennifer Ann Crescenti, who was murdered in 2006 by an ex-boyfriend. And it was that awareness that came to my ability to look at this and do what I can do. I work with a lot of adolescents in my practice, and I actually didn't have the awareness until this was brought to my attention. It's named after Jennifer Ann Crescenti, as I mentioned, who just unfortunately happened to be my granddaughter. So my son, who has a law degree, started this organization, and we, from that day forward, are absolutely committed to reduce the number of people that have this experiences or families that would suffer the tragedy that we've suffered. So I thank Joanne Burnell. I thank all the commissioners. I'm grateful to the center, and I'm certainly proud and grateful for the resolution that was passed here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Commissioner?
I just want to thank you all for allowing me to bring this resolution. I know that you all do really great work in this community, and I'm happy to be a little bit of help, at least, in trying to bring awareness to teen dating violence and really any type of relational violence. I think it's very important that especially in this community, that we bring awareness and we talk about it. So thank you all very much for everything that you do. Y'all stole my thunder. I was going to thank our county attorney as well for all that she's done. You know, she definitely is, as I think you all know and have said, has had a great impact in making changes and helping people. And especially by serving on the board and through her work. So thank you all very much, Dr. Richardson. Thank you so much for meeting with me this morning and for sharing as well, and for doing what you're doing. You know, I know it cannot be easy at all to have gone through the tragedy that you went through, but you know, you're taking that and you're taking that that hurt and changing it into advocacy and change, and so that's really, really great. And thank you so much for sharing with us today.
And thank you, Joanne. As you can see, the caliber of our county attorney's office with Christina and Joanne. But thank you so much for that support. You know, my previous life of working as a psychologist and probation officer, and in that area. It's such a vulnerable age, and the awareness by itself sometimes is so powerful because they might believe that some of the behaviors are normal, and that's you know, things that they've learned and things that they see, and so this awareness is extremely important. It's very powerful, and especially the prevention. And I think we need to do more with our youth. Sometimes we focus our energy and time and patience on treatment versus the prevention. And so I'm very proud of the group. It's very powerful. And we too thank you for being here and allowing us to be part of this awareness for our community. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5C, approve and adopt a resolution declaring February 5th, 2020 as National Girls and Women in Sports Day in El Paso County, Texas.
Well, thank you, and I have the honor to present the resolution. So very fortunate today. I taught at community college for several years and graduated from UTEP, and so this is a very favorable Monday for me, so thank you. Whereas the National Girls and Women in Sports Day celebrates and honors the amazing achievements of female, I'm sorry, I got ahead of you guys. Thank you.
Happened a little quicker than we thought.
Yes, thank you. I'll start over. Whereas National Girls and Women in Sports Day celebrates and honors the amazing achievements of female athletes who have overcome barriers and who are forging new paths in the sports industry. And whereas playing sports provides lessons in competition along with sportsmanship, academics, leadership, and character, which builds traits that are found in our everyday lives. And whereas the theme for 2020 is Leading Her Forward, which recognizes the many ways that sports can give girls and women the platform to achieve excellence and realize their boundless potential. Whereas the University of Texas at El Paso, Lone Star Title, and El Paso Parks and Recreation are uniting to give ladies enrolled in the area school districts the opportunity to get involved on this special day. Whereas show your support for athletes on February the 8th, 2020, as the UTEP's women's basketball team plays Old Dominion University. And whereas, in the words of Nelson Mandela, sports has the power to change the world, it has the power to inspire, the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sports can create hope where once there was despair. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the El Paso County Judge and Commissioners Court do hereby declares February the 5th, 2020 as National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Signed this third day of February 2020. Thanks.
Second.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Good morning, County Judge Samaniego and Commissioners. We are proud to represent UTEP today at the National Girls, Women's and Sport Day. My name is Amy Stell, and I am the Assistant Director for Development at UTEP. With us, we have Rebecca Plesha, who is also the Director of Marketing, Chelsea Popplewell, Director of Student Development, Athlete Development, Kate Ward, Assistant Soccer Coach, lovely cheerleaders, and our pay dirt Pete, our head trainer, Don Hearn, our Assistant Track Coach, Lucina Golden Clark, and our trainers behind them. It is a very special day for us to be here. This is our first proclamation in front of the county, and so we're certainly excited to be here and exciting to have you read that. It is a special week and a special month for us. Saturday is a culmination of the National Girls, Women's and Sport Week. We have our banquet on that day honoring 4 local athletes, 2 high school athletes, a middle school and an elementary athlete. So we're so excited to be doing that. It's going to be held in the Larry K. Durham Center on Saturday morning at 11. You're certainly welcome to attend. This will be short and brief, but we just wanted to say thank you for having us, and thank you for declaring the proclamation.
Well, thank you. Anybody else would like to say a few words? Pete?
That's it.
Well, thank you so much. I guess the appreciation, I've always had that appreciation for sports and you know, especially for women. And when we moved to Denver, my daughter was pretty lost. She just new environment. She was a sophomore. And as soon as she got into the golf team, everything changed for her. And the ability to be around other athletes, the way they think, their competitiveness, it just encouraged her so much. And she's now an attorney. And so I remember that pivotal point in her life was being in sports. And so thank you very much for everything that you do for our young adults that are able to participate in something so important for their lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Robinson?
Ladies, thank you for all you do, and thank you for coming. I want to spotlight an unsung hero behind that camera over there, Wayne Thornton. Wayne Thornton, and this is not about Wayne Thornton, but this is here in the women in sport. If you don't know the history about El Paso, some of you have been, maybe have not been here very long, but for at least the last 30 years, Wayne Thornton has been one of the leaders in women in sports, not only in El Paso, but in the nation. And I say the nation because little do you know, Wayne, I have a good memory. I remember things that you don't remember. But Wayne Thornton was a sponsor and a host for a national tournament here in El Paso for women that didn't get scholarships. Had a national tournament here in El Paso and brought coaches and scouts from all over the nation to El Paso to recruit those women that played in this tournament right here in El Paso, Texas. Wayne Thornton was the first women's basketball coach at UTEP. I can go on more, but I just want to say that he has been a leader in women in sports in this community for well over 30 years. So thank you guys for participating, but that's unsung hero back there, Wayne Thornton.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you.
You guys are gonna have to squeeze in a little bit.
Ready?
Item number 6 is public comment. We have one guest this morning. We have Mr. Pierre Andreu Sarraga speaking for you.
Starting time. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
El Paso County and the state of Texas and everyone in here, good morning. Buenos dias. I know we have a lot going on here, politically speaking. And let me just state my name for the record. I am Pierre Andreu Sarraga, the founder and chairman, 2020 presidential candidate, and with your help and cooperation and intelligence, your 2020 presidential elect of the American political party. Today, I have some documents that I guess I should have left a long time ago, but I did not. And that's my fault, but what I have here is I have the FEC letter in full and complete that was sent to me, and it basically says I can campaign and recruit membership and apply the 9 presidential promises that I plan to fulfill, which are right here. So I submitted this paperwork to the FEC, and they sent me the document that gives me the go-ahead. I want to leave this here with the county because essentially this party is everyone. This is all of ours. And so I want to leave this here, and I also want to, use my leverage against the DNC and the RNC. I know right now we have impeachment trials, and I think it's fair that we go through that process because I've been dealing with both parties since 2013. The Obama administration and the Trump administration. Texas governors, I've gone through two of them. But my leverage is I've reached out to the DNC and the RNC before any debates, before these last Democratic debates, actually dated in October and August, urging them to sit down and come to a bipartisan, tripartisan, however many partisans we have, agreement and constitutionalize ourselves. Both parties have articles of organization that are attempting to constitutionalize America. But there's no way that's going to happen if we don't have a law signed by a president that legalizes, establishes and legalizes a one political party system. That way everyone has a fair say. Everyone's name. If, God forbid, I do anything wrong, criminal, now you have a real impeachment trial. Now we have men and women who want to address the nation via the presidency, but now you better bring your A game. Because America, I think, should be the capital of the world. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not, but that's the way I feel. 200 plus years, that's what we've been doing. Come on, guys. I was told by Robert O'Rourke when I first sat down with him years ago, you got to be intelligent if you decide to continue your path, Pierre. I said, all right. I take all of your pieces of advice and I apply them. But again, that multi-political party blinds us, victimizes us, and I think we're beginning to feel that, see that. I'm hoping we head into another direction come next week. I could take on Donald Trump. I have a plan. I will fulfill them. I'm going to legalize cannabis. President Nixon in the 70s, that Controlled Substances Act victimizes everyone. Family violence, I would head to the probation departments, the jails, the prisons, where you're already in trouble for it. But the politicians in place of modern day, we don't understand that. I just came from across the street, which is a county jail.
30 seconds.
Understand? I want to use my intelligence, my experience for the good. Bring families together. Washington, D.C., their parents don't fight. They don't victimize their kids because you have a cannabis consumer in the family. I could take on Donald Trump. I can take on Mike Bloomberg. He was here last week. I was there. None of the Democrats have a plan. But I can Americanize and constitutionalize Congress, which is a bipartisan, tripartisan arena. Same thing with the courthouses across the nation and the White House. We have to be one nation under God. I am your 46th president. I expect your help. And before I go, I'm going to leave. I want to leave this with you, Your Honor. Is that okay?
You might leave him.
County Administrator?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Judge. No.
No, we're.
I just want to ask you.
Yeah, thank you. Says it.
Item number 7A, presentations. Receive a presentation and discuss the monthly report from the Council of Judges.
Morning to you, Judge Samaniego, Commissioners. I am Mike Cicero, reporting on behalf of the Council of Judges.
Good morning, Mike.
Morning. The El Paso Judiciary has started off 2020 with energy and initiative, and we are pleased to provide you with an update of this activity. In late 2019, Associate Judge Joe Gonzalez implemented a gun surrender protocol in his protective order court with the help of the sheriff. This program has since been broadened to the family courts. The purpose is to ensure that these weapons could be secured and then returned in a reliable manner. Court staff and representatives met with Commissioner Stout a few weeks ago, and the criminal courts are now looking at a further expansion of this gun surrender protocol. Plans are coming together to target specific segments of jury administration to improve efficiency and call fewer jurors without jeopardizing the court's ability to go to trial. These plans include improving the accuracy of addresses in the jury list and using data to better plan for no-shows, excusals, and deferrals. We're also exploring the placement of a judicial officer at Liberty Hall in the mornings to screen potential jurors as a group who may have exemptions. The idea is that if we do it over a jury hall, then we don't have to send people across the street to be screened at the individual courts. Also of note, late last week, the Council of Judges received the Courthouse Security Assessment from the Texas Office of Court Administration. We are distributing copies of this report and look forward to meeting with stakeholders on the recommendations. Of particular interest to our local administrative judge is an idea that's met with some success across the country and in some Texas counties, and that is a self-help center for self-represented litigants. According to TexasLawHelp.org, a self-help center provides in-person legal help ranging from finding resources to paperwork and to legal advice. According to a report written for the California courts, users of self-help programs appreciate these programs, and so do court staff, who believe that people who have gone to these centers help them save time both at the front counter and in the courtroom. Judge Chu has organized a conference call next week between Travis County and El Paso County stakeholders to learn more about how Travis County's Law Library Self-Help Center serves their community. Last, over the holidays, we at the Council of Judges took time to look back at the major efforts and successes of the court that the courts achieved in calendar year 2019. Most notable for the Council of Judges is our new strategic plan and our new operating guidelines. Staff has prepared a year in review for the judges, and we would like to present you today with copies. It is my understanding that this is the first time that the courts have developed such a document, and we intend to develop a more mature review process and document in the coming years. May I approach? Absolutely. Thank you. Second, at the last meeting of the Justice Leadership Coordinating Council, Judge Samaniego had suggested that now would be a good time to brief Commissioners Court on the progress of the Coordinating Council. If you wouldn't mind at this time, I'd like to call up Joel Bishop to help me present.
Thank you. Michael, thank you.
So members of the Coordinating Council were brought together twice. At the second meeting, bylaws were adopted, and the group will be beginning substantive meetings in the near future.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joel Bishop with County Administration.
Good morning,
I'm pleased to report on the progress here that the Coordinating Council has convened, adopted bylaws, and has begun a process really of unprecedented collaboration in El Paso. It's a great teamwork between all of the agencies. The purpose, again, is to provide a collaborative and unbiased justice policy guidance to the various research projects and justice challenges that face El Paso. So we're excited to see this pressing forward. The membership is established. The facilitation is collaborative between the Council of Judges and County Administration. And I don't think we've ever seen this high level of collaboration before in these areas, and it's a great time to do it because there are certainly many justice projects and challenges that face us. So I wanted to thank Mike for this update and for his work on this, as well as the Council of Judges and the various departments involved.
Thanks. And this is a really big deal. El Paso works very hard on doing the best job it can in criminal justice administration, and that is with the support of Commissioners Court. And this coordinating council provides us an avenue to join a national conversation between other groups like this. So it's a huge development, not just for El Paso, but for El Paso to begin again, a two-way conversation with others who are working towards criminal justice reform. But thank you very much for your support.
No, and thank you both. You know, those both initiatives that you have going are just extremely important. It's such a pleasure now to deal sort of like one face kind of, instead of trying to understand every judge's needs, and for you to be able to address that, sort of go through it, vet it a little bit until we get to see, and then we know what kind of support you have for the different initiatives. So it's been a pleasure to work. Joel, thank you so much for that additional support and for everything that you do. Thank you. Thank you both.
If there are no further questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Caesar?
I'd like to ask for to table item 7B. We have our guest that will be arriving shortly. We're just still waiting for him to get here. If you'd like, we can move on to the purchasing items. Item number 8.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 8 from purchasing, postponed on January 27th, 2020. Approve the award of RFP 19-023, Workers' Compensation Claim Administration, Third-Party Administrator, Cost Containment Services, and 504 Program Administration to Sedgwick of Memphis, Tennessee. Purchasing approved recommendation on January 3rd, 2020. Funding is available in ISWC, Workers' Compensation Administration.
Deborah Correjo-Troll, County Purchasing Agent. This is from last week. I believe Betsy Keller asked for it to be tabled so she could find out more information. If you approve this, you are approving award to Sedgwick. The backup documentation, and I didn't get a chance to tell you this last week, the backup documentation shows York Risk. After the bid was submitted, they were York Risk. Somewhere between the time the bid was submitted, they officially changed their name to Sedgwick. So all the awarding documentation, we have to go with what was legally submitted, and the contract will be made to their new legal name, which is Sedgwick.
Judge, Commissioners, on this item, what we wanted to clarify was the funding for this item. Basically, this increased cost for this was not budgeted. However, we do believe there are sufficient funds in the budget to cover it. And it would not, by the time the contract is actually awarded and brought back, well, if the contract's awarded today, by the time the contract is negotiated and brought back, we believe at that time we'll be even further along into the year and be reassured of the funding being available. This is the best way, as you heard from Natalia and Sam last week, this is the best way from a management perspective to handle our workers' comp through the 504 network. So we would recommend award, but I wanted to clarify that information on the budgeting for the administrative cost.
Thank you, Betsy.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout. Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9, award bid 20-001, lubricant, oil, grease, and antifreeze, and cleaners for the County of El Paso to Brewer Oil Company of El Paso, Texas, and CNR Distributing LLC of El Paso, Texas. Purchasing approved on January 28, 2020. Funding is available from various department accounts.
Good morning, Elvia Jauregui, Purchasing Manager. We're requesting approval based on the seal bid for the lubricants and cleaners. On this item, our Commissioners Court communication form does state an incorrectly statement that we are awarding a primary and a secondary vendor, when in fact it is a low bid per line item. which we'll be awarding to Brewer Oil Company and CNR Distributing.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Robinson,
No,
did you have
go
a
ahead.
question?
No, go ahead.
Commissioner Pettis.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10, award bid 20-004, bus and fleet vehicle maintenance for the County of El Paso to El-Tune Auto Service of El Paso, Texas. Purchasing approved on January 28, 2020. Funding is available from various department accounts.
Deborah Correjo-Troll, County Purchasing Agent. For this award, we are recommending El-Tune Auto Services and a local El Paso vendor. If you notice, we did only receive one bid. Part of the new process that I promised you is when we have one bid, a concern of the court is that how do we know if that one bid is a good price? And we talked a little bit about when we only receive one bid, what are some ways we can compare it, either to existing contracts, prior contracts with a little bit of an increase, or to the Consumer Price Index, CPI, or the PPI. In this case, in your backup, you have a copy of the single bid justification form that we now require departments to fill out, and it allows the expert in that commodity, the department, the user, to look at all those items and see, is this price that we received in the single bid good? And if it's a fair comparison to current market, then we know that we're not being cheated or we're not getting basically taken to the cleaners. And in this case, the pricing was deemed acceptable.
And thank you for that additional the effort that you have to do when it's one bit, but gives us a sense of comfort.
It was a great idea. It was your idea.
Good question, Judge.
Commissioner Robinson?
I think I've asked this question before, so I apologize if I've been redundant. But what steps are we taking, or have we taken steps to work towards a local apprentice as far as our local businesses?
Local business is different in El Paso. It is kind of a blessing. Everybody says we're geographically isolated, and that sometimes is seen as a bad thing, but it's really not, because, for instance, when we use the Region 19 contract, we are mostly awarding to El Paso vendors that have competed for those contracts, and so that puts us in a good place. One of the things we're doing to entice local vendors to come back and trust the county for business is I'm working with the local chamber and the Hispanic chamber. Both of them are scheduling me for one-on-one trainings with vendors. Well, not one-on-one, but one-to-group trainings with vendors in which I can teach them how to do business with the county. Over the years, I'd say before 2017, you probably were dealing with a situation where there was more of an apathy in the vendor community towards doing business with the county. There were a couple of misconceptions. County doesn't pay on time. The county does. Vendors were just not understanding the process. And so we're going to rectify that with training. It's part of a vendor outreach plan. And hopefully I answered your question.
Well, have you, I know you talked with Bruce Collins and you worked with him. I remember a few years ago we went through a process and established procedures as far as the local business by giving preference, not directly, but indirectly in regards to if they had established a certain criteria, a certain time they've been here in El Paso, if they're a homegrown business or whatever, or the base, the headquarters here, they were given additional points for when they apply for business with the county or with the city. So have we gotten to that direction yet?
We've gone as far as county law allows us to. 271.905 actually allows us a local business preference as long as certain criteria are met. And when that was passed, I believe the legal department at that time and the purchasing department at that time created a really solid policy. And if the vendors give us that information, there's occasions where the commissioner's court can determine that a local business would offer certain economic benefits to the county. Unlike a city, there are some times when cities, due to their portion of the law, can look at local vendors and make that a viable award point. To the best of my knowledge, the county does not have that capability. We simply have to take the sealed bids as they are. We can't give extra points in sealed bids. And in RFPs, I believe we're allowed to give some things, but not a local preference unless that local preference is, or that locality is deemed to be material to awarding the bid.
Is that by statute?
I believe it is. We do not have statutory authorization to give points to local vendors. For instance, the city has the tiered program, and I believe that's what you were mentioning. We're really lucky with our vendor numbers. If the court would like, I'm happy to share with you some of the data we've collected over the last year and our awards, both by percentage volume and by dollar volume. I can share that with you through the court administrator, our county administrator, and then we can have that conversation too, if you would like.
Could you visit with me at a later date in regards to the policy that you addressed it?
Sure.
Okay. Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner. Second?
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 11, award bid 20-008, 2 digital radiography X-ray equipment for the County of El Paso, rebid to First Source of Rochester, New York, in the amount of $250,158. Purchasing approved on January 30th, 2020. Funding is available in CIP 19 Sheriff's Office Jail Annex Equipment.
Elvia Jauregui, Purchasing Manager. We're requesting approval based on a sealed bid once again, and this is for 2 digital X-ray equipment machines for the sheriffs. We're requesting award of the low bidder for First Source Company.
Move to approve.
Betsy, did you?
No, sir, I think these are the X-ray machines that we need as part of our UMC agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Second?
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12, approve the purchase of 50 Microsoft Surface Pro 6 tablets and accessories for the Information Technology Department using DIR contract DIR TSO 3373, awarded to SHI Government Solutions of Austin, Texas, in the amount of $54,625. Purchasing approved on January 28, 2020. Funding is available in CP Replacement 20 Equipment Non-Cap Tablets.
Deborah Crejo, Troll County Purchasing Agent. For the award of this, we want to use the DIR contract, that's the Texas state contract. It's awarded based on quantities the county could not possibly bid out. And so these prices are very attractive and competitive for the volume that we purchase on these Surface Pros. If you approve this, you're approving award through the cooperative for these items at $54,625.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Question.
Commissioner Robinson?
Oh.
Is this a replacement or upgrade?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Joel Martinez. I'm Project Manager with the IT Department. To answer your question, Commissioner, this would be a replacement for the existing tablets that we purchased about 4 years ago, 4 years ago. So they would replace those.
So we're updating, you're upgrading?
We're upgrading the hardware components. Well, we're upgrading the entire device. The reason why we do upgrades is because of generational changes in the processor. We're upgrading, basically giving you a tablet that has a little bit more horsepower from when we originally bought. So we do this to keep up with all the applications and programs we run. So we upgrade the technology for that reason.
It's part of our overall modernization program.
That's correct. So yeah, this is one of 6 different types of equipment that we replace, including personal computers, desktops, laptops, MCTs for the sheriffs and constables, scanners, printers.
And what do we do with the old equipment?
Yeah,
The old
that's
equipment
my
is
question.
disposed of through the purchasing.
Say that
department.
again?
The old equipment is disposed of through the purchasing department, Judge.
Okay. Not for donations or?
Actually, yes, it can be for donations if there
We would
is a
love that.
public agency that requests it. And it's been ruled recently based on a question the courts asked. I believe Commissioner Perez asked if we could donate to agencies even other than government agencies. And I believe the nonprofits were also included in that. Although the policy itself hasn't been updated, that is allowable. So if there is an agency that requests it, the Commissioner's Court would be able to review that as a donation. However, this is aged equipment, so I guess it would be a preference of any agency.
I ask because I think the Census Bureau is trying to reach out a little further and do some things online, and so I don't know if that'd be a good opportunity, but Commissioner Stout can check on that and see if maybe there's a connection there that we could help them.
Just really quickly, the policy, if a public agency or a nonprofit does want to request these, all they need to do is get a letter to me stating that they're requesting items that are being or have been moved to disposal status, and we
Commissioner,
take care of the
you'll do that?
paperwork.
Okay. Commissioner Stout will follow up on that. Thank you.
When did we last update the policy?
I created the policy brand new about 1.5 years ago, and within the last couple of months, we received word from the county attorney's office that the nonprofits would be good. Really, I just have not updated the policy yet, but it's a quick, it's a
Well,
quick
two
change.
things. One, if you can provide me a copy of the policy or direct me to it. But the other question is, how do we disseminate the information to the public as far as the other agencies or nonprofits? How do we let them know?
I know with Fleet, Hopeton has pretty close ties to the other fleet departments of the public agencies, but no, it's not something we generally advertise at this point, but that's something that could be looked at.
Well, I'm speaking from the standpoint of fairness and equity. If we have a policy that allows that, then we should make sure that it's known to everyone, not just one or two entities.
And that's a good idea. I think the easiest way to do that would be to post it on our purchasing website under the disposal area. I can do that.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Do we get a motion?
Yes, sir.
And I second.
Commissioner Pettis?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 13, approve and authorize the purchasing agent to reject all responses and close out solicitation RFP 20-007, pre-employment and employment medical and physical examination for the Sheriff's Office, with permission to resolicit at the discretion of the Human Resources Department.
Deborah Crejo, Troll County Purchasing Agent. This is one I hate to do, but unfortunately, legally, it's probably necessary. In this case, I'm requesting that you authorize me to reject all proposals and close out this particular solicitation response. During the course of the evaluation, the high-scoring vendor actually changed a material part of the spec in their response. Whether they intended to or not, it would have created an unfair situation for anybody who potentially could have bid. The second scoring vendor was not at the minimum qualifications, and so there wasn't even an option in that case. The department has requested closeout of this so that they can go back and look at the specs or perhaps even view other internal or options. And so we'll leave that at the discretion of the department if it's authorized by the Commissioner's Court.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Pettis?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries. Judge, with your permission, could we go back to item number 7B?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Item number 7B, accept the quarterly report from the El Paso County Housing Authority.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning, Miguel.
Thank you for making the time. I was notified last week by your staff that there might be some questions regarding the quarterly report that we submitted. To give you just a brief overview of the written report, right now we have approximately $180,000 in capital funding. We are in the process of doing our strategic plan. Our housing authority, since it's designated a small authority, we are scheduled every 5 years to submit a strategic plan. That's due to our HUD field office April 17th of 2020. And it's rather a lengthy process because it does require our residents to be met with and get feedback, present this information back to our Board of Commissioners at EPSHA, and have a final review and submit the documentation over to the HUD field office. In the strategic plan, we're going to be including what was presented to the County Commissioners Court last quarterly report, and that's participating under the streamlined voluntary conversion. Very similar to what you have seen in RAD, this assists smaller housing authority agencies to where it benefits HUD by removing the public housing portfolio. So those liabilities are removed from HUD's balance sheet, and it adds it over to the El Paso County Housing Authority. Now, that helps us strengthen our capital. It's going to increase, of course, revenues through rents, which is going to be subsidized under the new project-based program under that SVC conversion. Discussions that we have had with our commissioners at EPSHA and what we also will include in our strategic plan is increasing housing. We have procured a firm that specializes in RAD and the SVC program. So far, what they've recommended the El Paso County Housing Authority Commissioners is to consider doing the conversion. That strengthens our balance sheets. That allows us to now have constant revenue for us to self-finance certain projects. They highly recommend that once we do the conversion to consider procuring property that's right next to our Sanchez complex. That's right off G Avenue across the high school, Fabens High School. That will allow us to submit a 4% tax credit application for us to build 80 units. The demand that's surrounding our community in Fabens and Clint, San Elizario, and Tornillo is having more housing for the elderly and disabled. And right now we only have a total of 4 units in our 2 complexes. And so that's going to allow us to be able to do an assessment in the area, figure out the demand, and then create a complex that allows us to do that. What will be nice is that these units will, of course, be up to date with refrigerated air, up-to-date heating and cooling, and accessible units that have wider hallways, rolling showers, those things that are required for individuals with disabilities or that are elderly. This process, like I mentioned, we'll be working on the next several months so that we can submit our PHA plan to our HUD field office by April 17, 2020. Any other questions?
Commissioner Robinson?
The new units, will they, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
The new units, will they include appliances?
Yes.
Elderly?
In fact, currently we have, just giving you examples, we do provide the refrigerator and stoves, all the appliances. But we have a mix of gas or electric, and based on our recent survey, all the residents would like to have just pure gas stoves. And so based on that assessment, we're making sure that the new units will have those utilities based on their requests.
Thank you.
Now, what's really neat about the conversion, though, is that what we would like is to see we can transfer our existing clients from the complex in Sanchez complex into this new property so that we can have options for other projects. For example, in the continuum of care meetings, we still assess the number of homeless groups that are out in the county. And so there's still a need of housing for individuals that are victims of domestic violence, children that are aging out of foster care, and the LGBTQ community out there. And so this data that we get from the Continuum of Care Board and their staff allows us to do a prospect application on the existing units, have them funded through the Continuum of Care, and then be able to have units for those particular groups.
Thank you. Anything I can do to help with the tax credits, let me know.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will let you know immediately.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I had the opportunity to meet with Miguel and some of the board members, and we discussed the fact that, you know, last time when El Paso Housing Authority was here, that we felt, you know, uncomfortable because we didn't know, we don't want to hold back any housing, we don't want to hold back any initiatives from our county, and so a lot of the things that they're doing now really is showing that reaction to that and responding properly. Housing is such an important part of our county, and we need to do some creative things. So I was very, you know, fortunate to hear that. I encourage that he meet with each one of you, him and his team, to talk about some of these things. And there was sort of like we went back and forth. Have we supported? Have we been around as commissioners with the housing authority? And then have they reached out to us? So I think this relationship, and you know, having the opportunity to have worked with Miguel, and unfortunate that I lost him to that, but very fortunate that that's where he is, where it's very valuable to us that he's there. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to do. And Betsy, I asked sort of from the strategic planning if we could look at that relationship. You know, it's probably the best relationship we can have because of our, you know, just the process of what they do and how they, you know, relationship with them as commissioners.
Yeah, Judge, I appreciate that. And in fact, we had the EPSHA board meeting last week, and so in our minutes, we did have some items of discussion that arose from our conversation. So I am expected to come and have meetings with the rest of the commissioners to bring them up to breast. And Betsy has graciously scheduled some time to meet with her Tuesday, February 18th, to discuss the down payment assistance program out in the county. So that will be our objective, to assist low-income families in becoming homeowners. It's a very successful program that's funded through Freddie Mac and in partnership with GECU in the city of El Paso, but the jurisdiction right now is just in the city. And so we are in a position now where we can mirror that program and put it out in the county, and we will bring you further updates in the next quarterly report.
You know, one of the things that, you know, by growing sort of organically, your collateral programs and the things that you do, we could lose that to a bigger housing authority, because you know, you're trying to, from getting, you know, from mentoring, from getting, you know, people to attend school, you bring in a lot of the communities, just all of these collateral things. If we could keep that role model, kind of that model of doing things going forward and not lose that, I think we would be one of the few housing authorities that has that kind of support for our residents.
Absolutely, Judge. We sure will.
Thank you. Okay, Miguel, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we have a motion to accept the quarterly report, please?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 14, Health and Social Services. Approve and authorize the county judge to sign the Texas Department of Agriculture grant agreement for an award of $102,497.77 for home-delivered meals for elderly individuals and persons with disabilities for a term beginning February 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2021. Funds will be deposited in Special Grant Nutrition Management 20 State Agency. Contract number 2020-0026.
Hi, good morning. Irene Valenzuela, Community Services Department. This is an annual grant that we apply for. We have been for over 10 years through the Texas Department of Agriculture. They're one of several grant funding sources for our homebound delivery meal program under the Senior Noontime Meal Program. This particular fund will fund 89 meals for the entire year. It's effective February 1st and ends January 31st of next year.
Thank you, Irene.
Move to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Irene.
Item number 15, Human Resources. Approve and authorize the county judge to sign the service agreement between the County of El Paso and Nationwide Retirement Solutions Incorporated for 457 Deferred Compensation Plan Services. Contract number 2018-0624.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good
Berenice
morning.
Acosta with the Human Resources Department. Joining me today is Jose Garcia. He's from Nationwide.
morning,
In
Mr.
the
Garcia.
event that the court has any questions for him. The purpose of today's item is to seek the court's approval on the contract service agreement with Nationwide Retirement Solutions Incorporated. The county currently offers several ancillary benefits to its employees, including a 457 deferred compensation plan. The deferred compensation plan is a supplement retirement savings program that offers a tax advantage way to invest for potentially more retirement income. This is an additional retirement plan from the TCDRS retirement plan employees are currently participating in. On June 25th, 2018, the county awarded a bid to Nationwide to offer a deferred compensation benefits to its employees on a voluntary basis. Currently, we have approximately 635 employees, which includes CSCD employees participating in the Nationwide deferred compensation. Based on the award of the RFP and the response to the RFP by Nationwide Retirement Solutions Incorporated, a contract service agreement was negotiated and developed. Significant changes include high fixed rate of return, reduction in fees, pricing strategy leading to lower overall cost to participants, plan sponsor and participant services such as on-site meetings with employees on a one-on-one basis, education and/or training services for participants. The agreement is for 3 years with the option for the county to renew for an additional 2 additional one-year terms. The agreement is effective 1/1/2020. Staff is recommending approval of the contract service agreement with Nationwide Retirement Solutions Incorporated. Does the court have any questions for me or for Nationwide?
Betsy, you want to comment on? You good?
Berenice gave a good coverage of it. This is not only a benefit to employees to help them save, it also helps us as an employer with tax deferral savings.
Okay.
Can you just briefly explain how the 457 program works? So how much can employees actually put aside? What kind of rate of return do they have? Just kind of a brief overview of how it actually works.
I'll let Jose speak to that as he's the expert in.
Thank you, Jose.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. So to answer your question, Commissioner, so the IRS allows you to contribute up to $19,500. These are for individuals under 50 years of age. 50 and over could contribute an additional $6,000 in addition to the $19,500. And that's as of, that's the new contribution limits that were effective January 1st of 2020.
Okay. And so people that set aside money with the 457, they're not getting a match like they do with the retirement. This is just supplemental to that. And if they want to put aside more, is there any type of guaranteed rate of return like there is with the retirement program? You know, is there a 5% or a 7%, anything like that, or is it just whatever the market gives you?
So that's a good question. So first of all, there's no matching. So this is all employee driven and employer participants. There is approximately a little over 30 different mutual funds in the plan, ranging from conservative to aggressive and everywhere in between. There is a stable value product called the Nationwide Fixed Account. It's currently offering a guarantee of 3.5%. So that is that's a current credit rating. Now that can change on a quarterly basis. However, that's where it stands as of today.
And Commissioner Stout, you can contribute as little as, I think, $10 a pay period. So, and I'm going to plug this real quick while we have the opportunity. No matter where you're at in your career, no matter where you're at in your earnings, you should be participating in the 457 program. It's something that the county offers. Everybody knows that most Americans don't have enough money at the time of retirement to meet all their needs for the rest of their life. It's a really great way, and you don't fill the whole $10. So if you sign up for $10, that comes out pre-tax. So you don't, and say your taxes are 20%, you only feel like an $8 deduction in your pay as opposed to the $10 deduction in pay. It's something I'd highly encourage every employee to get more information about.
I've got to say, even on, Mr. Garcia touched on it, in just the savings portion of it, which is 3.5%, you can't get that in the market out there as far as even a CD doesn't pay you that much. So like Betsy alluded to, it's a great investment.
Great plug, Betsy, for our employees.
Well, someone told me that when I started in government, I was making $8 an hour, and they told me if you only put $10 in, start putting $10 in, and now I'm so thankful I did.
Thank you.
And what's the process for employees to be able to sign up? Is it rolling open enrollment all year? Is there a certain time period with which they have to do it?
So that's a great question. So they can enroll anytime, and we make it very easy. They could meet with one of my representatives and myself, either on site when we're here, and we're here about once a month, or more often if needed. They could enroll themselves online. They could do it over the telephone, or of course we also participate in all the new employee orientations. So there's various different ways that someone can enroll.
And you can stop anytime as well.
You can stop contributing.
Yeah, contributing.
You cannot close the
Pull
account
out, yeah.
while you're employed. So we get that question from time to time where folks, it's rare, but someone starts it and life happens and then they want to close it. Well, but what they can do is just stop their contributions. The account will still be invested, in the way he or she chose to allocate their monies. We will still meet with them, help them, make those decisions. They just wouldn't be a contributor anymore. Mm-hmm. And currently, the plan has a little bit over, there's actually 961 participants. Out of those, 661 are actively deferring. 37 are in payout. So, they've retired, they receive monies. And the other 264 are inactive. So an inactive participant is someone that started participating, they stopped for whatever reason they did, or maybe someone that is no longer employed with the county and just left the money with the plan.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Great information. Thank you.
Much. Thank you. Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 16, Public Works. Pursuant to Texas Local Government Code Section 232.041, approve and authorize the acceptance, filing, and recording of the revision to the Gateway Estates Unit 1 subdivision to be named Gateway Estates Unit 1 Replat G.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Gilbert Saldana with Planning and Development. Gateway Estates Unit 1 Replat G is a 101 lot subdivision of approximately 32.86 acres on Vista del Sol Drive, located approximately 3/4 of a mile east of Loop 375. The subject property is in precinct number 3 in the East El Paso area and will be served with water and sewer by El Paso Water. The stormwater from the subdivision will be accepted by Regional Pond, and the reason for the replat is to reconfigure streets and lots in conformance to the city and county subdivision design standards. No deed or covenant restrictions were found to be filed with the county that would prohibit this replat. This exhibit shows the subject property in the current plat which is Gateway Estates subdivision, filed in 1973. This exhibit shows the proposed replat of the subject property as being proposed. The Planning and Development Department recommends approval of Gateway Estates Unit 1, Replat G, and to authorize the filing and recording of the subdivision plat. This concludes my presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Bettis?
Gilbert, if you can speak to this, or if somebody can, I mean, it's, you know, the growth in that area is really contributing to a lot of traffic issues, and I know that you know, the planning department is working to, you know, a new infrastructure to help with that. But I guess, you know, as you know, I guess I'd be interested in hearing from someone, I guess, as these plats are considered, you know, and in working with developers who, again, we just have to approve the plats, and we really have no other choice. But and someone monitoring, you know, the timing of the projects that we submit to the MPO, and when they come online, and when these plats or these are being developed, because in the Upper East area, you know, what occurred was that, you know, development really far outpaced the road infrastructure, and it's just created a really terrible situation for a lot of folks now that to retroactively go back and construct, you know, large roadways that can accommodate the volume of traffic. You know, where I feel that further south, down in the muds, in the Paso de Este, kind of where this is by, you know, the road infrastructure is likely going to be there. We recently redid Vista del Sol, and I know Tierra Este is also going to come online as well, which will help, but that's further down the road.
Yes, Commissioner, as you're aware, some of the our projects through the MPO have anticipated a lot of this growth. I mean, obviously, Vista del Sol has already been constructed with the anticipation of these subdivisions that are adjacent to it. John Hayes and all the infrastructure is already planned out, at least anticipated, and that's why we have some of these projects going through the MPO as well. So I don't know if Jose would probably like to touch on that as well.
If I may, thank you, Gilbert. Jose Landeros, the Planning and Development Department, and just to very briefly add to Mr. Saldana's comments, our submission of plans of projects into the MPO planning documents is the first time that the county's had the number of projects and the number of activity planned in the MPO documents. And so what we've begun to do is coordinate with the MPO to allow projects to be accelerated as they need to be. And, you know, an increase in development activity in the area provides us a better case to request acceleration of projects. But once the projects are in the planning documents, that's an important first step to securing additional funds in the future. So we do monitor these. As was mentioned, we do have 2 projects that would directly affect the traffic patterns and development in this area, and those are the John Hayes extension. That would provide north-south connectivity between the Upper East side of the city of El Paso and the unincorporated area going down to Pelicano and ultimately to East Lake, as well as Tierra del Este, which is another critical north-south route that actually would directly serve this area because it's located on the eastern portion of this section of land. So we do coordinate that, and then as the projects, as we see development getting ready to come online, we coordinate with the developers in terms of providing any right-of-way assistance, any engineering assistance, maybe even any construction assistance as well. So in the past, the county has was really seeing not a lot of activity of development, but over the past 5-6 years, with the amount of activity that has occurred, there's been an increased coordination with both the private sector and then the public planning agency at the MPO.
So in the Upper East, if you go like by Ventana, for example, you know, Ventana is now just sort of a major arterial, and I guess the way that it was designed and constructed, you know, Ventana is just sort of the only collector, you know, to get folks out of their neighborhoods, you know, and into the main roadways, you know, to get off to Zaragoza. There's nothing that can be done ever to expand Ventana probably to what it should have been, because it goes down right smack in the middle of the entire subdivision. Mm-hmm. So unless the eminent domain houses all along that road, it's forever going to be, I think, far too narrow for the community's needs. Right. Are we, you know, as we consider these developments moving forward, I know we've made a lot of improvements to the policies regarding parks and other infrastructure, but It's just the flow of I just want to be sure that as this area grows, the flow of traffic is such. And these neighborhood roads, while they may not be the major roadways like Tierra Este or the John Hayes extension, are sufficiently wide to accommodate folks that will be eventually going onto those roads to get to and from.
And a big issue with the Ventana traffic is the misalignment of Mountwood Drive. Yeah. If Mountwood Drive had connected properly, a lot of that traffic wouldn't have ended up in neighborhoods. But because there is no existing connection to Mountwood, a lot of the traffic pours into that neighborhood road that was never designed for that purpose. And a big reason that we feel very confident in the planning steps that we have moving forward is because we're scheduled to complete the development of the county's first major thoroughfare plan in spring of this year, which would then give us a guiding document to ensure that developers are aligning roads properly, that they are building the roads at the capacity that we have determined on a technical basis and a planning basis is appropriate and required. And the city of El Paso has utilized this before, and we've relied on their plan and the ETJ, but we've never had a plan of our own. So that'll be an important guiding document for us moving forward to ensure that we preserve and reduce congestion and preserve mobility for the residents in the area.
Okay. No, I think it's vitally important. Like I said, some of those Upper East neighborhoods are just so heavily congested, and a lot of it I think is just due to these neighborhood roads that are just heavily relied on. So yeah, I think anything we can do to ensure that the development from the get-go, from the beginning, is designed properly to accommodate for just the good flow of traffic, I think is important. So I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon has stepped out of the meeting. Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
And Commissioner Robinson has also stepped out of the meeting. Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Gilbert, thank you. Jose, thank you.
Item number 17, discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the submittal of applications for funding through the Texas Water Development Board's State Revolving Funds Loan Program.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Jose Alneros, the Planning and Development Department. Be joined this morning by Mr. Fernie Hernandez, our Director of Infrastructure Services for this presentation, and also Mr. Manzar Al-Sarraj, our Infrastructure Planning Program Manager. What we are discussing this morning is a revolving loan fund program that is administered by the Texas Water Development Board, which you all may have received some information on an upcoming deadline about. What we wanted to do was present information to the court about the projects that would qualify under this program, and then also offer some context to the program and ask the court for their guidance on whether the court wishes to proceed with an application submission or not. The two programs that have deadlines coming up next month on the 3rd are the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund and the Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund, both of which allow for water, wastewater, or stormwater mitigation projects to be submitted. These are loan programs, as is stated by the title. It's a revolving loan fund. The loans are offered at below market rates. Specifically, the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund rates are offered at 130 basis points under the county's credit rating, and the drinking water is offered at 125 basis points under the entity's credit rating. And the loan terms are available for up to 30 years. So you're looking at a long-term debt solution here. There are criteria in the project for loan forgiveness, which is, you could consider a grant in a sense. These loans are forgiven typically if they are projects located in disadvantaged communities, smaller rural areas, green infrastructure, low-impact development projects, and the loan forgiveness is only up to 70%. So if the county took out a $100 million loan from the Water Development Board, 30 million of that loan would still be the responsibility of the county to pay back. For the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, there are $525 million available in fiscal year 20, and about 29 million of that, or 5%, is available for forgiveness. So you can see it's a very low percentage. For the Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund program, $250 million are available in 20, and 30 million, or a little above 10%, are available in loan forgiveness. So again, this is primarily a loan program. The chance of forgiveness. There's a very small amount of funds, and a majority of these loan forgiveness grants are administered to more rural areas with limited economic resources, not necessarily an agency the size of the county. That being said, there is potential for the Water Development Board to decide to forgive a loan that the county has entered into. So we wanted to provide you with that context, and also a little bit of the projects that we could consider financing through this program. These are priority projects that were identified by the North American Development Bank, or NADBank. Back in 2017, NADBank commissioned Park Hill Smith & Cooper Engineering to develop a master water and wastewater plan for the entire county to identify communities or projects that were still missing water or wastewater, and it prioritized where those projects were. Also provided an estimated construction cost. And so that's what these projects that are on the slide before you are related. So these were not derived by the county, these were developed by the Park Hill Smith & Cooper on behalf of the NADBank. As you can see, there's approximately $47.3 million worth of water needs that are priority 1 projects, and approximately $71 million of wastewater needs. And that's, again, wastewater, sanitary sewer, replacing failing or existing septic tanks. This is an exhibit that shows you in blue the areas that are in need of water. You can see they're spread across the west side and eastern portion of the county. And then here you have the area that is wastewater. And again, this is denoted in light green, and also concentrated in the west side, south of Vinton, north of Canoteo, and also on the east side near the Sparks and Horizon area, and also Clint and Agua Dulce. So these are the areas that are identified as the priority projects for water and wastewater that, again, could be financed through this program that is primarily a loan-driven program. I'll go and turn over to Mr. Hernandez, who will provide a little bit more information about the potential storm mitigation projects.
Thank you. Good morning, Judge Commissioner Fernando Hernandez with Infrastructure Services.
Good morning.
As Jose was mentioning, we do have the possibility of entering the same amount of projects that we did and the previous amount that we did for the Texas Development, I'm sorry, not Texas, the TDEM, the Texas Department of Emergency Management, which we recently submitted. Unfortunately, since it's more of a loan component, we'd like to take a little bit different approach. We do have these projects that we try to bundle within the TDEM project, and unfortunately, they don't rank as well as they do as a standalone projects in the benefit cost analysis ratio. And so we'd like to submit these projects individually, knowing that if we were to submit these projects through the TDEM, we would never achieve the grant process because they fall below the substantial benefit cost analysis that they require. So these are kind of the projects that we're kind of looking at, and be a little bit a different application that we're looking at, just because of, like I was mentioning, the benefit cost analysis ratio. I could kind of, these are the ones that we submitted previously, and I can kind of go through them each one individually, or if you have any questions, we can go ahead and take them collectively now.
Judge, Commissioners, I do want to also add or expand on this. The reason why part of why we brought this item forward is members of the court were receiving the notices, and Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, and we were being asked, are we going to be looking into any of this funding? So we wanted to make the court aware that this is loan funding, which the county would be required to pay back for these projects. We would also, if we don't go out for the loans, which if that's the court's pleasure, we'll definitely do, but if we don't go out for loans for these projects, we'll continue to apply for and search for grants to help fund them.
Then, Judge, Commissioner, just to add to what Mrs. Keller had just mentioned, one of the large considerations that the court has to take into account when making decisions this morning is that the life of these loans would, a majority of these projects are located, at least for water and wastewater, and even for the stormwater mitigation would be the responsibility of the county. And so they would come into our water system, for example. And so as we discuss what the county's role is going to be in managing the water system, this is a vital component to that as well, because we would potentially then have active loans attached to our water system, in addition to some that we have ongoing right now. So that's just an important factor to consider. And so after we...
Is that going to put us at a disadvantage, do you think, when it comes to
Well,
negotiating with the water with the water utility, when we're talking about seeing if they'll take it over?
So, and Jose, please add on to what I'm going to say, but right now, it's my understanding that there is interest in acquiring the system as it stands right now, including assuming the debt that's currently owed on the system. This would obviously generate more debt, but more connectivity to the system for our residents. The other aspect of this is if we transfer over the system, what we're being told right now is that USDA will no longer give us grants or loans to expand to that system if we transfer it. So this would obligate the county to more debt. We don't know if there would be interest in assuming that debt or even the expansion of the system,
right,
by the utility.
That's correct. So there are a number of, you can see there's approximately over $100 million worth of critical infrastructure that still needs to be implemented. The reason why USDA has indicated that to the county is largely because of the financial position of a utility like El Paso Water that disqualifies them from securing the grant funding that the county's been able to secure, because our enterprise water system is much smaller on a financial basis, has a smaller financial reserve position than the El Paso Water utility does. And so because of that strong, healthy position, El Paso Water is not eligible for a lot of the grants that the county is currently eligible for, which would then affect how they eventually decided to roll out service to these communities that still have no access to water or wastewater. So that is something that we've discussed internally. At this point, because there's still a lot of questions to be answered about what the direction is going to be with El Paso Water, what that partnership is going to look like. There are a number of other grant opportunities that may become available to fund some of these, including through funds such as the North American Development Bank, or as Mr. Hernandez mentioned, the Texas Department of Emergency Management for flood mitigation. Even the Texas Water Development Board is going to be offering zero-interest loans or grants for stormwater hazard mitigation projects and planning as well. So that is why collectively Public Works is recommending that we not go after the loans, but we continue to seek out grant opportunities that may be able to provide this service moving forward.
Judge.
Commissioner Perez.
So I don't know if you already mentioned this, but you know, as we consider all this, you know, I mean, there's the issue of sort of like double taxation, where a lot of these entities fall within a water district, or they should, anyways. I'm guessing with the exception of Hillcrest, and then there's those three streets just east of Zaragoza, where there's a donut hole, where there's folks that still don't have access to water. Would they fall under the Montana Vista water system? Is that in the donut hole east of Zaragoza?
Yeah, so here is a figure, an exhibit of the areas that you're discussing. So these areas don't fall into an existing water system. So they would become new accounts of the county's East Montana water system. And in addition to that, the county would have to explore amending and growing our CCN, which is the Certificate of Convenience and Necessity, which is effectively the boundary that permits an agency to provide water or wastewater service in an area. So you can see here that Turf and Tierra del Oro are two donut holes surrounded on all four sides by the city of El Paso. Hillcrest is right at the intersection of Zaragoza and Montana. And then Butterfield is a census-designated place located just south of the Waco Tank State Park.
Yeah. I guess when it comes to these three, I mean, they should be a high priority. Whatever ultimately, I guess, we decide to do with the water system, again, I know it's a very costly proposition, and you know, we've got to be careful in where counties get involved in the water business, because, you know, you know, I don't think you know, I think we can do a lot better in terms of providing other critical infrastructure that are mandated services. But however we move forward with El Paso Water, there was a planning issue here for whatever reason where the city jumped these areas. And moving forward, if there is an interest in acquiring the system, I think we've got to ensure that these donut holes are corrected, however that may be, whether it be through loans, grants, or in collaboration with El Paso Water, because especially for Tierra de Oro and turf, I don't know how just such small pieces could have just been jumped over, but it's just, it's I'm sure for the residents living there, it's rather upsetting to see that, people who live around you to the north, south, east, and west all have water connections, and just there's only a few roads that were left out for whatever reason that was. So.
And then to add to that, we had we had provided a highlight to the Commissioners Court at the end of last year in December, stating that the North American Development Bank had approached the county and expressed interest in trying to bundle these projects on the Upper Valley together. These are completely outside of the city of El Paso, north of Canoteo, south of Vinton. But because of a number of projects that are going to be occurring in Vinton, the cost per connection on some of these projects starts to fall into a very feasible range. And so these projects might actually be good eligible projects for a grant moving forward. These again are first-time water and there's some first-time water, and there's also some first-time sewer projects in this area as well that the infrastructure could be placed in at no cost. But again, these are good projects that have been identified as potential grant-funded projects that would not require any additional funding or very minimal funding from the county, as opposed to the loans that are being offered by the Water Development Board in this that we're discussing this morning.
Thank you.
So back to the recommendation, right now our recommendation is to continue to pursue grants in lieu of loans.
And like I said, I think that's okay. But like I said, like for those donut holes, I don't want us to go moving forward. And if we ultimately do decide to, transfer ownership of the system, which like I said might be prudent, because running a water utility is a very complex thing to do. On top of everything else that the county government provides. But I don't want to leave those areas uncorrected, because I don't think that they'll ever get hooked up if it's transferred without there being some sort of fix. So whether it be loans, or they assume the debt, or perhaps if they're not going to consider grants anymore because we're considering this option of moving to the utility, then the utility I think should explore the consideration of that debt, because I think it was poor planning that leaped over these communities in the first place.
Thank you.
So if the court's, I know that the court needs to take official action to tell us not to do something, but we wanted to gain the concurrence from the court, the direction from the court, whether or not to pursue the applications, or as we're recommending to not pursue, and to continue to seek the grant opportunities that may exist out there for these projects.
That's fine. I mean, I think also when it comes to stormwater, I guess we should continually revisit, because I do think that is more of a county responsibility to provide that infrastructure. And so if we're unsuccessful in obtaining grant funding, we're going to have to start evaluating other options. And I know we've talked about bonding out, the stormwater funds. And so I just want to be sure that that's an ongoing conversation, that we get as much grant funding as possible, to offset the costs, but that, we get regular updates on that. Like I said, the water issues I think are separate, but the stormwater infrastructure I do think falls on us, outside the city limits. So.
Yes, sir, and the stormwater is in part of our long-term debt planning. Yes, sir.
There's this motion is, or this item is for approval of the loan funds program, but if that is not the route that the court wants to pursue, you can just go ahead and there'll be no action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 17 is no action. Item number 18, grant applications. Approve the submission of county grant applications as listed and described. If awarded, all grant award agreements will be brought back to the Commissioners Court for final acceptance and approval. Item number 18, approve and authorize the DWI Drug Court Program to apply for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration grant application in the amount of $387,716. This is year 3 of a 5-year grant period. Further authorize the county judge to sign the attestation letter as a requirement of the grant application. Contract number 2020-0073.
Judge and Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
We are certainly asking for approval to continue our grant application, which has been very helpful to the program, to our community, and to the people that we serve. And we're very proud to be in year 3. And so we are hoping for your all's blessing that we continue, and Judge, you're signing that letter attesting that we'll be able to continue the grant application.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson is absent. Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Judge, thank you so
Judge,
much.
Commissioners, thank you all very much. May I be excused?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 19, approve and authorize the 65th Family District Court to apply for fiscal year 2020-2021 specialty court grant through the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division for family drug court participants with substance abuse treatment, accountability, and necessary parenting skills in the amount of $89,131 from September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021. Further authorize the county judge to sign the resolution and CEO law enforcement certifications and assurances form. No county match is required. Contract number 2020-0045.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. My name is Belinda Acuña, and I'm the Specialty Court Coordinator for the 65th Family Drug Court. And we are asking approval to apply for a CJD grant for the amount of $89,131. There is no county match required. These funds will be paying for our drug testing supplies, for our moral recognition workbooks, our parenting through Strengthening Families program, Sun Metro bus passes, training for staff, and office supplies.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson is absent. Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item number 20, Budget and Finance. Approve amendment number 16 to the County of El Paso's 2019-2020 operating budget. This budgetary amendment will increase grants by $112,769.10, thus increasing the overall budget of $474,503,656.49 to $474,616,425.59.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Wally Hargrove from the Office of Budget and Fiscal Policy. You received the backup for this week's amendment with your weekly highlights. Were there any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Perez?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Stout?
Aye.
Judge Samaniego?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And item number 21, addendum to the agenda. Approve and authorize the county judge to sign the lease extension between the County of El Paso and the City of El Paso for office and laboratory use by the city's Department of Public Health at the Medical Examiner's Building for a term through September 30th, 2020, the end of the current fiscal year. Additionally, authorize a notice to the City of El Paso on the termination of the lease. Contract number 2015-0362. We'd like to ask to delete this item.
Move to delete.
Second.
Before we do that, Betsy, I know there was some leakage, or some problems. Where are we at?
So there was a major leak happening from the second floor over the weekend. We have removed the water, and we are also meeting with the city about the future plans for their operations on the second floor to see what can be worked out to just address this going forward.
Is there a possibility that we may shorten that lease to expire quicker than what is already agreed to?
There is a possibility of that. I generally think that the city's interest is to either extend it or to see if there's some other option that we could work out. But as I've mentioned to the court, these operations, and are not compatible, at least not in the structure of the building that we have. It is not in our best interest, in my opinion, to have a two-story building with that type of operation over the sensitivity of the type of operation we run on the first floor. And so we will be meeting with the city to see what we could possibly work out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. And with that, that's our last item, Judge.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
This concludes today's meeting at 11:38 a.m.